Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to get into a mailbag where we answer questions from subscribers, which airs always on our live shows on Wednesday. If you're wondering, yo, Marsh, how do I get my question on the mailbag? Number one, you got to be a subscriber. So go down right now, hit that big red button, and then you got to join us for our live shows every single Wednesday. So turn on your notifications so you never miss a show. Shout out to my guy, Will Jackson, for the first question on today's show, which is a super chat, $2 super chat. Shout out to my guy, Will. He says, do the Giants draft Quentin Johnston in the first? Johnston, the wide receiver for TCU. He is going, in my opinion, to be the number one wide receiver selected in the 2023 NFL draft. And for that reason, I say no, the Giants don't draft him unless they trade up. Because I don't think the Giants will be in a high enough spot closer to pick number one to be in a position to draft a guy like Johnson. I think he goes top 10, top 15 at the latest. I don't think the Giants pick until anywhere after 18. Giants need a receiver. There's a lot of guys that they could look at. Maybe a guy like Jordan Addison out of USC. Maybe a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State. There's a lot of good wide receivers in this draft. I would look to select a wide receiver in round one. But at the end of the day, I'm going with best player available. Whoever's the best player on the board when the Giants pick, that's who I'm going to select. I hope it's a corner. I hope it's a wide receiver. If it's an inside linebacker, I'm not against that. Giants could use that type of guy, a playmaker, all at the linebacker spot on this defense. Another $5 super chat from my guy, Mike Francis. What up, Brody? He says, hate picking in the teens. What are your thoughts about picking in the teens in this draft? I don't mind it. Obviously, you want to be closer to one, but if picking in the teams means that I get to watch my team in the playoffs, that's a pretty cool trade-off. I'll take that every day of the week. But sometimes you see take picks in this teens that still become all pros and Hall of Famers. You kind of let those bad teams that are usually always at the beginning of the draft select the bus, and then the good guys just fall right in your lap. What pick was Justin Jefferson? Justin Jefferson was the 22nd pick in the National Football League. He's what? Best receiver in the NFL right now? You can get A.J. Brown was a second-round draft pick. DK Metcalf, I think, was a second-round draft pick. You can get great wide receivers in late round one and round two. So, Mike, I get your point, but I think every Giants fan right now would take a playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card weekend over picking number 5 or number 7 again. I know I for sure will. Appreciate the soup, Mike. You're a real one. Bob the Builder says, do you think the Giants could trade for T. Higgins since he has a lot of players to re-sign? Or maybe Davante Adams because he went to Vegas because OCDC. Because of DC Derek Carr. Okay, so you're saying Higgins because they have a lot of players. You got Boyd, you got Chase, you got Joe Mixon. There's a lot of money on that offense. Do they want to pay another high receiver like T. Higgins? That makes some sense. And Davante Adams, what I think you're trying to say is, should the Giants look into trading for Davante Adams because he solely went to play with the Las Vegas Raiders to play with his college quarterback and best friend Derek Carr? I don't hate that idea. So let's kind of compare the seasons that Adams and Higgins are having this year. I think it's also very important to remember that T. Higgins is 22 years old and Davante Adams is 30 years old. One makes $30 million. One is still on their rookie deal. No doubt about it, Davante Adams is still a top 5, maybe even the best receiver in football still. I mean, look at these stats. He's going to finish with over 100 grabs, over 1,500 yards, probably 15 touchdowns, 90 yards per game. The guy is a pro's pro at the wide receiver spot. I just don't envision that the Las Vegas Raiders would move on from him so soon. I mean, I didn't think they were going to move on from Derek Carr this soon. But Derek Carr, right? Yeah, David Carr was the Giants' Super Bowl champion QB. Davante, I'd love for the Giants to get him. I think it's going to cost a lot more, and he's worth a lot more, and he's older. But a guy like T. Higgins, 73 grabs, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 14 yards per catch. The Giants need an elite, dynamic wide receiver one on the outside, and maybe it could be a guy like T. Higgins. I'll ask you. You had to pick a wide receiver to go and get. And this isn't of who is better, because we all know Davante Adams is better than T. Higgins. But pick a wide receiver to go make a move for. Remember, Adams is worth more money. He's going to cost more in a trade, and he's older. But he's better. T. Higgins, younger, less money, wouldn't cost as much. So factor all that into your decision. Put your GM hat on. What do you say? Pick a wide receiver. Type DA or TH. What do you say? Sound off down below. Leandro Batista, my guy, $2 super chat. Appreciate the love, brother. He said, should the Giants trade for a better draft pick? I'm not ever against moving up in the first round of the NFL draft. But it always matters who's on the board or where you're picking. If there's a guy that the Giants fall in love with pre-draft process and he's available, but they don't think he's going to get to him, and they have to and they just know he's the guy, then I'm not against moving up for a guy like that. Maybe there's a quarterback that they fall in love with, which I think might even be off the table now, but you never know. Maybe there's a receiver they love or a cornerback they love or just any player that they love. Yeah, I'm not against trading up, but it does cost a lot to trade up in the first round. That's definitely something to keep in mind. They fall in love with a guy, wide receiver, corner, if they think it'd be a day one starter and an impact player, Leandro, I'd go do it. I'd go get my guy. When you can get the best player that you think is going to fit your scheme, go make the move. Crim's dad with a $10 super chat, my guy. He says, how far do you think the Giants will go in the playoffs? Seeps, can we pull up that playoff picture? Shout out to Seeps. Look. Seeps, close your ears right here, our Vikings producer. That is a winnable football game. I am not saying the Giants will win. I'm saying they can win. I think if that game happens, the Vikings will enter it as 3.5-point favorites. And they're home. Don't let it be Monday Night Football or Kirk Cousins might not even show up because we know what happens on primetime football with Kirk Cousins. Look, the pressure in that game is all on the Minnesota Vikings. At one point, they had a chance to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. They were the number 2 seed for like 7 weeks. And now they're the 3 seed. They have a rookie head coach. We have a rookie head coach. Let's say that the Giants match up with the Vikings and they beat them. And let's say that the Niners beat the Seahawks and the Cowboys beat the Bucks. That means the Giants would play the Eagles and the Niners would play the Cowboys. Be tough to beat the Eagles in the playoffs, but I don't think it could not happen. I think the Giants can go, look, it's the playoffs. Once you get into the dance, anyone is allowed to leave with the hottest girl. So I don't want to say they can go to the Super Bowl, but anything's possible. Let's say, and I don't wish this on anybody, let's say a primetime player for the Eagles, maybe Jalen Hurts goes down in that game. Like, you're an injury away from anything happening. Anything can happen in the playoffs. I think they're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings in round 1. And to guarantee that the Giants beat the Vikings in round 1, sub for playoff dubs. We usually say sub for dubs. Now we're saying sub for playoff dubs. A lot of teams wish they could say that, so we're saying that. If you want the Giants to beat the Vikings or the 49ers in round 1 of the playoffs, go ahead, hit that sub button. We put out videos every single day on the latest Giants news and rumors. Also, you can bet on the Giants game this weekend against the Eagles. You can bet on the Vikings game this week against the Bears. You can bet on any NFL, NBA, MLB when it comes back around, NHL, any sport. We've got your game. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Promo code chat125. BetUS, the best sports book in the damn game. They sponsor Chat Sports. They are our friends. Get hooked up with them. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Promo code chat125. Matt Robertson. What up, Matt? He says, did Daniel Jones earn $25 million per year? Let's do this. Let's look at 2022 NFL QB salaries. I know them. I just want to get a list in front of us right here. The highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm going to see if I can do per year. $25 million is about the middle of the pack. So, kind of, right? Like, I guess he kind of earned that. I mean, when you think about it, Matthew Stafford's making $61 million per year. That's incredible. 4 years, $160. Russell Wilson makes $57. Josh Allen makes 46.9. Deshaun Watson makes 46. Rodgers makes 42. Cousins makes 40. Tom Brady makes 30. Kyler Murray makes 30. Patrick Mahomes makes 29.4. Ryan Tannehill makes 29. I mean, other guys that make 25 million? Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Jared Goff. I'd sign up for 4 for 100 for Daniel Jones. I'd rather like 3 for 75. I think the shorter the deal, I don't know. He's earned it. He has earned it. The Giants are going to the playoffs. I mean, anytime a quarterback leads you to the playoffs with the lack of weapons and kind of the bad interior offensive line the Giants have. Yeah, Matt, you're right. Price is going up. Would have been a lot cheaper if they signed him before the year. Marsh Lover 37. What a name. Marsh must be a lucky guy. Do you still think the Giants should have traded for a wide receiver at the deadline? All right, this guy's been watching the show. I was of the belief, and honestly I still am, that the Giants should have traded for a wide receiver because I understand building for the future. But the Giants had a chance this year to capitalize. And I'm not saying if you traded for a wide receiver, you would have won the Super Bowl. But I am saying you'd be a better team. You'd be a better offense. Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins have been great. They are your number 1 and number 2 receiver. But could you imagine these two guys with DJ Moore? Or these two guys with also Jerry Jeudy? I'm glad they didn't trade for Chase Claypool. I'm glad they didn't trade for a couple of those guys, but they would have been better. It is not guaranteed that the Giants under Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll ever get back to the playoffs. Do I think they will? 100%. But sometimes I think we got to live more in the moment than always looking to the future. I know we save draft capital and we're in the playoffs anyway. But if you're telling me that back at the trade deadline we were going to make the playoffs and we would have traded for a receiver, I think the Giants would have been in a damn good spot. I'll ask you, though, because I think there's good answers to both sides. I just kind of wish they would have been a little bit more aggressive and got Daniel Jones another weapon. What do you think, though? Should the Giants have traded for a wide receiver at the NFL trade deadline? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Sound off for me if you could. And give me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm trying to get my Twitter cloud up, and I want to follow more Giants fans. So if you follow me from this video, I'll give you a follow back. Just DM me Mailbag so I know that you came from this video.